Thank you so much. And thank you all again for joining the African Caribbean Council of Halton in our virtual series, Let's Talk, with the Honorable Minister, Anita Anand. We're going to be moving on to the next item on our agenda for today. You're all cordially invited to please leave any messages or questions you have in our chat. We'll have someone watching it. At this time, I'm pleased to call upon Mr. Akin Kumi Akinyemi, who is an IT and cybersecurity specialist and works with Rogers Communication. Mr. Akinyemi is passionate about safety and supporting our community, and he sits at the lead in the digital theme of the ACCH, and he'll be reading our land acknowledgement for today. Over to you, Mr. Akinyemi, please.
Thank you, Mrs. Adams Idode. I use this opportunity to welcome everyone and Honorable Minister. Thank you for having our time. We know you are very busy. We appreciate you giving us your time here to come speak to us. So I'll be reading the land acknowledgements. Halton, as we all know it today, is rich in history and modern traditions of many First Nations and Métis. From the Anishinaabe to the Atawandaron, the Haudenosaunee, and the Métis. These lands surrounding the Great Lakes are steeped in indigenous history. As we gather today on these treaty lands, we have the responsibility to honor and respect the four directions: lands, water, plants, animal, ancestors that walked before us, and all the wonderful elements of creation that exist. We would like to acknowledge and thank the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation for sharing their traditional territory with us. So this is the land acknowledgement for today for this program we are all into. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Akinyemi, for the land acknowledgement. That was very interesting. So I wanted to quickly say before I continue that I do have a co-host. He's no other than Emmanuel Okorafor. Emmanuel is a graduate with double honors in law and justice and political science. He's also in the process of writing his LSAT to go to law school. He's an entrepreneur. He volunteers with various organizations, and I'm so proud that he is part of the digital team member with ACCH. So he'll be co-hosting with me today. I also wanted to ask for your indulgence. The Honorable Minister Anand recently just sent us a message that she's in a session where they're voting. She will be joining us today. And so I ask you to please stay tuned. And once she comes in, she would be providing us with the reason that we're all here today. I want to quickly welcome everyone again and let you know a bit of what we do at ACCH. ACCH is an acronym for the African Caribbean Council of Halton. We have a board of directors, and I'm one of them. Also on the board of directors, we have our president, Mrs. Adejisola Atiba. We have a financial advisor and an accountant, Mr. Abi Salami, as well as a lead in our communications and contacts, Christine McIntosh. So these are the directors of ACCH. We also have a board of advisory, as well as a digital team that you met a while ago for the land acknowledgement. So what do we do at ACCH, and what are we about? We aim to elevate, we aim to build and advocate for inclusive and equitable African Caribbean community in Halton region. And we do this by advancing our culture, social, economic, political, education, and professional empowerment. Our vision in ACCH, therefore, is to advocate, to build, empower, and strengthen our communities. We will also want to be part of the solution, as we all know. And being a part of the solution would include increasing our knowledge and awareness of issues that affect our African Caribbean community. And that is why this Let's Talk virtual series is so important, because it's part of the education and awareness that we need in our community. We'll also continue to reach out, dialogue, and speak against all systematic anti-racism and inequity in our communities. Of course, we intend to partner with the government and collaborate with stakeholders, such as our minister that will be speaking today at the event, and develop strategies for equal opportunities in the mainstream and in the access to justice. At ACCH, we're very intentional. And I'm not going to deal with the plan for ACCH for this year, because we're going to have that plan provided to you by Digital Atiba. But some of you may ask how you can help and how you can contribute to effect change, because change begins with you and me. So I ask you to look into your network. I ask you to hire people that look like us. I ask you to also join our events, as most of you have joined today, to learn more about who we are and what we do. So at this time, I also would ask you to please donate, not just donating your time like you're all doing today, and we gladly appreciate that time, but also donate to fund our programs, which you're going to hear very shortly, and donate to fund some of the services that we're providing to the African Caribbean community. At ACCH, we're all professionals. We have small businesses, we have women among us, but we are a diverse group, and we need your support. So I will ask you to please stay tuned as we continue to learn, as we continue to empower ourselves, and as we continue to listen to our program of events for today. Finally, I wanted to also add that for today's housekeeping rules, I would ask you to please write your questions. I'm sure some of you came with questions for the Honorable Minister. Please write your questions in the chat box. We have someone monitoring that chat box. And if you want to raise your hand or add to the discussion when the time arises, please feel free to do so. Once again, I welcome you all warmly to this virtual series event. This is unusual times that we live in, and it's important that we continue to connect with one another and continue to speak up against all of the ills and against any discrimination that affects our community, because it's by doing so we are stronger together. Thank you all for listening. At this time, I'm going to hand over the stage, the virtual stage, to Adejisola Atiba to give you the plan of our events for this year, 2021 at ACCH. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Madam Edosa Adamidode. Thank you. And welcome everybody again. I'm very happy to welcome us to this virtual event. I'm happy to see my brothers and sisters from the French-speaking community. Thank you so much for joining us today. Lots of us from English-speaking community, and also our brothers and sisters from the Caribbean. So at African Caribbean Council of Halton, we want to be inclusive. We want to be able to support each and every one of us to the best of our ability, and that's why we do such an event. So Ms. Adams-Idodi already talked about our vision and mission, but I want to touch on what are the things that we plan to do today. Now, before I go on, I know that she did mention that the Honorable Minister will be joining us later. She was actually trying to join us at 6 p.m. and leave at around 7:15. Because it's a minority government, there are certain votes that are happening today in Parliament, and all votes count, all votes matters. And that's why she had to do it, but she has given her word she will join us by 7:30. So we're still expecting her, and the office manager is in touch with us, and they've profusely apologize for not being able to make it on time, because we all know that life happens, and we've seen a lot of things that they've been doing for us. We also want them to continue to stay in power so that we can get the benefits of what they're doing for us, at least for now. So what do I want to talk about? The events that we plan and some of the things that we want people to do. So there's something that we use, an acronym that we coined, which is be an ambassador, be an ally. So every one of us, considering the fact that we're from Africa, I know that a lot of people here think that Africa is one country, but we know better. So because we know better, we need to know ourselves better. Because when we know ourselves better, we'll be able to teach, we'll be able to help each other, we'll be able to treat each other with empathy. We'll be able to understand each other's culture. We'll be able to understand, what's important to each other. A lot of people may come from Nigeria, but there are people from Rwanda, from all over the world. We want to make sure that we know each other so that we can help each other better. And apart from the African countries, there are countries also in the Caribbean. Do we know all of them? So we want to know each other. And that's why we've started something that we call Culture Talk. So for every event that we have, we will always have 30 minutes to talk about our culture. So if you know anyone living in Halton region that is from a country that is other than your country, or you yourself want to talk about your country, please reach out to us. Our digital team, if you don't mind, just typing in our social media, our email, our website on the chat so that people can work with it. Please reach out to us so that we can get you to come and educate us. When we know each other better, we are able to work together and understand ourselves better. So the event that we're having today, we call it Let's Talk Virtual Event. So this is the 3rd edition. The first time we had politicians come and talk to us about how we can become politicians ourselves. What do we need to do? Everything that I'm talking about is on our YouTube channel. One of the things that I took away from there is we need to volunteer. We need to show up. We can't just continue to do 9 to 5 and expect people to see us. People will not see us. We need to show up. That was one thing I took away from there. And the next one that we had the Chief of Police of Halton to come and talk about race, trust. And because of that, they've reached out, we're working with them to see and understand the various programs they have for our youth, for our adults, and they need us to join the force. We need to be there to make decisions that affect our young generation, our youth, ourselves. We need to be on the table. If we're not on the table, they will continue to make decisions that may affect us negatively, because they can only think the way they would normally think because of who they are. But when we're there, we'll be able to think and educate them and guide them to do the right thing by our community. And before I talk about other events, I also want to talk about having a seat at the table when it comes to elected officials. In Halton, I don't think we have any of our people that are in elected offices. We need to be there. It's important to be there. And so ACCH is focused on advocacy. We've connected with all the elected officials in Halton. We know who they are, and we will continue to talk to them to ensure there is equity. Yes, we talk about equality, but equality at times could mean inequity. We want equity. We want to have a seat at the table. I can tell you right now that there are opportunities in Milton. We will look to see if there are opportunities in Oakville, in Burlington. They've reached out to us to ask us what are the things that we want. And if we keep quiet, nothing will happen. So it's important for us to be engaged. It's important for us to ensure that we're part of the decision-making team. If we're not part of them, we really can't move the dial. So it's important for us, if you have anybody that is interested in politics, we have people that are willing to mentor them, to guide them. who are already politicians. They are allies. So please let us know. So to be an ambassador, like I said, we need to understand ourselves, know ourselves. When we know ourselves, it will be easy for us to now educate our allies. Our allies are people that do not look like us. It will be easier for us to help them. And at times we find ourselves in position of power, and because of what other people will say, we try not to do the right thing for our people. Please employ yourselves. The Caucasian will continue to employ themselves. The Indians will do the same. Why are we not doing the same? Let us employ ourselves. Let's be great ambassadors for our brothers and sisters. If you have any internship opportunity, please let's engage our children. They are the leaders of tomorrow. Change that we want starts with you and I. So I talked about Culture Talk. I talked about the Let's Talk series. We all know that we spearhead the Black History Month in Halton. So the first time we did it in 2020, it was just one city, which was the city of Milton, the town of Milton, sorry. But this year, we've been able to do it all over Halton. There are a lot of lessons learned. There are a lot of promises made. We will be following up with them to ensure that they keep to their promise. And that is why we're having Honorable Anita Anand today, because when we did our town hall last year after the unfortunate death of George Floyd, she said, I have determined to put aside a percentage for the Black community to be able to be contractors to the federal government. When they make promises, we will follow up so that they can tell us, because if you put 20%, I don't know what percentage it is, if you put it aside and we don't know how to be a part of it, what's safe for us? And that's why follow-up is important. So we had a lot of promises from our leaders, from our elected officials during the Black History Month. We're analyzing the videos, and you can look at the videos too and bring out points that we may miss some points. They're all on our YouTube channel. Bring out the points, and together we can go to them and get them to commit to what they promised to do. Some of the things that stood out to me during the Milton event, Sheldon Williams, who is the vice president of Canadian Caribbean Association of Halton, talked about the fact that we need more programs. We do need more programs in our community. And even in Oakville, Dr. Johnson Yilade, he mentioned the same thing, that we need programs. We need more programs in our community. All this program costs money. So what does that mean? We need funding from the government. What we have seen before is the fact that the government will give funding to people that do not look like us to do programs for us. If you are not me, how can you be me? How can you know what's important to me? And so we're asking the government to give funding to our communities. And we're not the only organization. We have CCAH. We have a lot of organizations that are doing wonderful things that can do programs for our community. And so those are some of the things that we'll be following up with the elected officials. Show us the money. A lot of them said there's a lot of work to be done. A lot of work to be done needs funding. A lot of work to be done needs support. So we're going to be following up with them to give funding to our community, to support our community, to be able to build our community the way we know how, to support our youth, support our professionals, support our business owners. We know that COVID-19 has excavated the stress that we feel in our community. And so whatever if we continue to speak up and follow up with them, I'm sure that they will change, and make those fundings available for us in our community. Another thing that we've been working on, and this is thanks to one of our teachers, Meme Marie-Therese Awito. She reached out to us and talked about, supporting her high school students better, encouraging them, making them feel they're important, because they are important to us. Again, they are our future. And so based on our recommendation, we're looking to do what we call African Caribbean Excellence Award for our high school students. So that's something that may start this year, or it may start next year. We will be reaching out to business owners, not just ambassadors, but also allies in our community, to make sure that we get engagement and give our children bursaries to encourage them. We have some criteria, and one of the criteria is they must be excellent in their education. They must be involved in Black History Month activities. They must be involved in physical activities. They must go on to college or university. So those are some of the things that we're working on. Also, too, in all the cities, we want to set up what we call caucuses. So in Milton, we will set up caucus, Oakville, Burlington, and Halton Hills. And all the mayors are aware of this. The caucus, the purpose is to ensure that there's opportunity to dialogue and not wait for things to get out of hand before we are actually able to resolve it. So we will meet on a regular basis, maybe once a quarter, to talk about any matters arising. We don't want a situation where things will break down before we actually get in front of our elected officials to discuss. So those are the things that we have in plan. And at this junction, I'm gonna turn it open to Mr. Salame in case there are any questions or any concerns, any comments that our community members have to all that I've said. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Salame.
Thank you very much, Lady Abba, and thank you everyone for joining today. This is very, very important for us, especially in our community. We always have in mind at ACCH that togetherness, we can form a chorus, and nothing can be done alone. If we try everything by ourselves, we can see through history and everything that people do separately, it doesn't work. And that is why it is very, very important for us at ACCH to make sure that we bridge that, we tighten up the bridge in our community so that all our people can be one, so that we can achieve our aims and objectives. As Lady Abba has said earlier, we have to be part of strategies. We have to develop strategies to be part and parcel of decision making in the community. Because few weeks ago, I happened to represent ACCH at a meeting, and was with the Halton police, the chief police tanner, and a lot of police people and a lot of community members and a lot of associations were present there. And I made it known that, yes, it is a very good thing that they're doing, but it is very, very important at the same time that I see somebody that looks like me in the police force, so that when they're making decisions, I'm not going to feel threatened. I'm going to see that I'm part of decision making. So when I see when a policeman stops me on the road, I'm not going to be thinking that, is that policeman being prejudiced against me? Why am I being stopped like that? So at least the understanding will be there that the policeman is doing his job and part of the community, and it's not being biased against me. So we have to be part of the strategy, and we have to form a strategy. We have to strategically position ourselves so that we'll be part of decision making in the community. Another thing is the participation is very, very important. As Lady Abba said earlier, when we had the virtual meeting once before, so the lesson learned there was that we have to make sure that we are volunteering in most of these things. But by volunteering, you have better opportunity, so you will be known right there. So people that even want to be a politician in our midst is an opportunity. So many times people think that by volunteering they are not contributing anything. Of course, that is how to get known. So at ACCH, we make it as bone of contention that we have to work together, volunteer in the community, so that things can work better can work for us better. There's another thing that is going on now that we see about the Excellence Award. We want to be a part and parcel. We want to make sure that our future generation are being, awarded with award of excellence. So then we have to be part and parcel of that, so that at least when our children, they see that they do things in the community, they feel they feel better, that better things is coming to them. So we part that situation whereby we just sit down and fold our arms and doing nothing. So we'll be part and parcel of the Excellence Award. And one question come to mind, and I want everybody sitting at this table right now to even think about it. How can we be more visible in Halton region? What is it that we can do as part of the community? What can we contribute? So I want input from everybody right now so that we can know what we can do better, so that it will be a collective effort. Then again, let's think about what kind of information do we need to better our situation. Sometimes, information is power. If we do not have adequate information, correct information, we might not know what and where to start from. So it is very, very important. Let's dialogue amongst ourselves. We have lawyers amongst us, we have professionals. Let's talk amongst ourselves. Let's deal with us. Let's the people that are selling stuff. Let's contribute to our community. Let's deal with our people. Let's try to preach love. That is the only way that we can get better. And then the last thing that I will say for now is, now we should try to start investing in our community. What I mean by investing in our community, that is the only way that we can get better. In my language, there's a proverb that says that which means that when you want to hit your chest, you cannot hit your chest with only one finger. It has to be like collective of fingers. So please, let's come together and see what we can do to uphold and to uplift ourselves in the community. So I'll leave that now and let Mrs. Edosa Idode to go ahead with the program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adejisola Atiba and Mr. Abi Salami. I'm sure everyone here has been greatly enriched with the plans that we have. We're not just passionate at ACCH, we're very intentional. And we mean what we say, because there's a lot of commitment and there's a lot of shoulders that we stand upon. And so and the question that was posed by Mr. Salami, how can we be more visible so that we can know what to do better? That is so important. And I think every one of us here should really ask himself that question. And if you have solutions, if you have an answer, if you have a suggestion or a recommendation, we will gladly welcome and entertain that, because it is so important that we continue to strive together. And so without further ado, I would at this time ask my co-host, Mr. Emmanuel Okorafor, to please take the next segment and welcome our next guest to this Let's Talk Virtual Series. Mr. Okorafor, over to you, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Adams Idode, for the introduction. Our next topic is Culture Talk. Why Culture Talk? At African Caribbean Council of Halton, we lead with information and education. Did you know that Africa is comprised of 54 countries and the Caribbean 15? There's a wealth of culture, knowledge, and information within each country that should be known and shared. And this can only be done if there's an opportunity for us to be able to learn about one another, for us to be able to truly come together as a community and grow. This is why from this moment on, every event hosted by ACCH will include a speaker who will touch on multiple aspects of their country, giving us that opportunity for a moment to educate not only ourselves, but our allies as well. Each speaker will give us a high-level overview of their country's religion, culture, and its people. Our first speaker is Mere Therese Awito, who grew up in Africa and France before moving to Canada. She has lived in Milton for over 10 years, and she is a French member of our community, a French teacher, a mother, and a community leader. She'll be talking to us about her country, Rwanda. Over to you, madam.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes? Thank you very much for the presentation. Thank you to ACC for the invitation. I feel privileged to be here with you tonight, but I'm also stressed because this is your first talk. And I'm wondering if I'm the only one who speaks French here. Is there anybody else who speaks French among you guys?
I do understand French a little.
You do? Okay, so I might need your help. If I start with one word, you can help me out, okay? Thank you.
Okay.
I have a PowerPoint, and Miss Lady Adiba is going to help me with the presentation that I have. Do you mind clicking on present, please? Present on the top, on the, yes. Merci. So I'm starting with a picture of myself and my family. I am, as they said, my name is Marie-Thérèse Awitor. I live in Milton. I'm married and I have 3 children. My husband is from Togo in West Africa, and I am from Rwanda. And I know tonight is all about Rwanda, right? As I said, I'm very honored to be here tonight, and I'm going to try to share my culture with you. Before we move to the next slide, I would like to ask you, when we talk about culture, what comes to your mind? When you think about culture, what comes to your mind?
My language.
Language, yes. What else?
Way of
Food.
life.
Like
Food.
cultural dishes.
Yeah, culture. Okay, food. What else? That's it?
Religion, beliefs.
Thank you. So I had to ask that question when I was trying to prepare this. And there is a culture iceberg that I like to share with my students. Culture, there are so many things when it comes to culture, and there are things that we see and things that we don't see. So tonight, it's all about things we don't see that I'm going to try to share with you. We can move to the next slide, please. So I'm starting with my kids' names, okay? So when it comes to the culture, we all know that I think it's everywhere in Africa. It's very important to explain the meaning of our African names. My children are Togolese and Rwandese. Therefore, my husband and myself, we made sure to represent that in their names. And each child has a Togolese and a Rwandese name. And in Togo, I don't know if you know that, I don't know if it's the same as in Nigeria, they like to name their children after the day of the week they were born. So my son was born on Friday, so we gave him the name Kofi. My daughter, she was born on Saturday, she has Amy. And then for Rwandese, I decided to give names with meanings. Like my son, his name means welcome. My daughter, Kaze means beautiful. Keza, sorry, Keza means beautiful. And my son, my last son, his name is Kunda, which means love. So it's very easy, but with a strong meaning. And it's important that our children continue this tradition when they have their own children. We will see. I hope so. Let's move on to the next slide, please. As I mentioned to you, I am from Rwanda. I was born in Rwanda, but I grew up in different countries. I've put some flags here, and each of them are connected to me, to my culture, and they have an impact on who I am today as a person and also as a teacher. I would like someone to pick one of these flags. Can you please guess one flag and say the name? And I'll try to share something related to me and the country that you were able to recognize. Which flag do you recognize?
I do recognize blue, white, and red, which is France.
Okay. That was easy. So yeah, as I said, I was able to do my university degree in France, and my first degree was in law, and then I went in politics science, and then I decided to come in Canada, and I went back to do my teaching degree. So France, I grew up speaking French. Even if I was in Rwanda, I was in a French school. Even when I was in different countries, I was put in a French system. So I know very well the French system. And then what else? I need someone else to pick one country, one flag, please. Come on, guys, don't be shy. I'm sorry, I'm talking to you as if I was talking to my students. Otherwise.
Ouais, je vois le drapeau de la Côte d'Ivoire.
La Côte d'Ivoire, excellent. Bonsoir, monsieur.
Bonsoir, Thérèse.
Bonsoir. Ivory Coast. So I never been there, but I have my in-laws from Ivory Coast, and also I live in Milton, and my best friends are from Ivory Coast. They're like my family, and you know, we all come here. We don't have any family, so you have to build a new family. So Ivory Coast, they're very close to me, and those are my friends here in Milton. And I need one more.
How about Togo?
Togo. Togo is because my husband, he's from Togo. I went there two times in Togo. I love Togo, and it's my husband's country. So it's like my second or third country. That's it. Okay, let's continue. So as I said, Rwanda, and this is the flag of Rwanda, and it's located in center of Africa. And we all know that flags means a lot in each of our countries. So for Rwanda, the color blue is a symbol of peace and happiness. And the people of Rwanda, they must fight. They had to fight for their peace, which brought them happiness and economic development. This is why we have the Rwanda today. And the yellow is a sign of wealth in economic development. And of course, green represent natural resources. And there is a sun on the flag, which is a symbol of unity and the struggle against ignorance. So it looks like Rwandese people, they don't like people who are ignorant. Okay, we can move to the next one, please. So again, I'm showing you my country. It's surrounded by, it's bordered, yes, that's the word. It's bordered by 4 other countries. My grandparents and my ancestors are from actually Kigali, the capital of Rwanda. We were like living 2 hours from the downtown. So I was able to go to my grandparents almost every weekend when I was young, because it was 2 hours riding. We can move to the next one, please. Thank you. So Rwanda, it's called in French, Pays des Mille Collines, and in English, the land of 1,000 hills, which is characterized by hills and mountains. As you can see in the picture, it's very beautiful. We can move to the next one, please. And Rwanda is mostly rural. All this information are coming from Google, and I try to find the recent information on Google. So please, if it's not relevant to today, it's Google fault, okay? Rwanda is mostly rural, with 78% of the population, and only 25% of the population in urban areas. We can move to the next one, please. I put a picture just to see you the city of Kigali with high rises. I think Nigeria, we're not close to Lagos, maybe, I don't know. But you can see in the picture that the Kigali Convention. We can move to the next one, please. That's Kigali Convention Center, which is similar to the Toronto Convention Center here. This is not a culture, I don't know if I should call it culture, but the next one, it's important for me to show that we do have similar houses like here, because some of my students, sometimes they think that we all live in trees. So I like to tell them that we do have big houses in Africa too. Next one, this is the Kigali. Kigali is also known, the capital of Rwanda, it's also known as like car-free zones. Can we play the video, please? In the video, you're going to see that Kigali without any street. So I don't know if you can see that somewhere else, but they do have places like that where street cars are not allowed. And I find it very amazing, because they're trying to fight against climate change and those kind of things. And we can move to the next one, please. And Kigali is also known as the cleanest country in Africa. I'm going to ask, if we move to the next slide, yes. Yes, Kigali is also known as the cleanest city in Africa. We are going to play the video very quickly, just 1 minute and 30 seconds, please.
Yeah, people think this boy is going mad. This is the craziest thing I've ever done in my entire life. But I'm not scared because I'm in the cleanest city in Africa. This is Kigali. Look at me sitting inside a gutter eating without thinking of getting sick. Bro, you just have to get to Kigali, man. This place is super clean. Look at the gutter, man. Just have a look. But first of all, let me take you to the street of Kigali and look it for yourself and see how clean Kigali is.
I'll be alright again, no matter how the fall. I will rise again. Oh,
thank you.
I'll be alright again. Anytime I feel, I will rise again. Oh, I'll get back up again.
Can we stop, please? Thank you. Thank you.
This boy is going mad.
So before we move to these slides, I just want to say again that so it has been recognized that Kigali is the cleanest country in Africa, and it's proven. Like, it's not just on papers. It's true. They are very clean, and nobody is allowed to walk on the street without shoes in Kigali. And what else can I say? Nobody can work with barefoot in the country, not only in Kigali. Sorry. We can move to the next one. So we are in Rwanda. We are mostly Catholic, with 40% of the population, and then Protestant, followed by the Muslim religion. Next one, please. As per the latest United Nations data, Rwanda's population is approximately 13 million. When I was living there, we were not even 6 or 7 million, so it's kind of almost double. The fertility rate in Rwanda is 4 births per woman. Rwanda's population is very young, as you can see, with about 2/5, 2/5 of the population is under 15 years of age, and another 1/3 between age of 15 and 29. So it's very young population, which is at the same time good because they're investing a lot with young generation. We can move to the next one, please. Okay, so Rwanda is composed with 3 ethnic. The largest ethnic groups in Rwanda are the Hutus, which make about 85% of Rwanda's population. And then we have the Tutsis, which are 14%, and the Twa, which is the third group, which is 1%. These statistics are from the research on Google. So I think they said 2002. So it's kind of a little bit old, but it should not be too much different. Next one, please. So we are 3 ethnics, but we have the same language. We speak the same language. We eat the same food. We eat the same culture. I know in Nigeria in Nigeria you have so many ethnics, so many culture and different languages. In Rwanda, no. We can move to the next one, please. We all speak Kinyarwanda, which is the language, the national language. And then after English, French, and Swahili. Someone said when I was asking about culture, what comes in your mind, said the language. And Kinyarwanda is the national language of Rwanda. It's the first language of almost the entire population of the country. It's also the official language alongside the French and English. English, it has been recognized in 2008 as the language of educational. So we used to speak French at school. Now they are teaching more English at school. And recently they're coming back to French now again. Swahili is widely spoken in the towns and is still the principal means of communication with Africans from neighboring countries such as Tanzania and Kenya, for instance. Next one, please. Food. So when we talk about culture, food comes in our mind, right? And someone said that the majority of the population in Rwanda rely heavily on potato. We love potato, maize, and cassava. This is generally served with kidney beans and cabbage. And sometimes you may add some meat, but most of the time, the Rwandese people, they don't eat meat. If they do, they're going to eat goat, even if we have cows in our country, but they still don't eat that much. A typical breakfast, for instance, is made of porridge and sweet potatoes. So we eat in the morning sweet potatoes. Next one, please. So now we also, when you talk about food, culture, clothes comes in our mind, of course, traditional clothes. And by the way, I love Nigerian traditional outfit. I was wearing one on my wedding. So in Rwanda, women, they wear what we call umushana. So before I move on to the traditional outfit, don't you see this similar to something here in Canada? It doesn't make you think about a different culture here that we see here? Other people wearing the same kind of outfit? I see Madam Adams, which culture comes in your head? What kind of population?
The Indians, they
wear. Yes, it's exactly, I would say almost the same, just the material which is different. But now with everybody's traveling, or everybody, we're all more open. We're starting to use the Indian material to do our traditional outfit. So the way it is, it's a umushana, it's that traditional dress. It consists of a skirt, a thin top, and a sash that is dropped over one shoulder. So on the way you put your shoulder, people, they can recognize if you are married or not married. So I think if you are married, it goes on the left. If you are not, it goes on the right. Something like that. I didn't verify that. I'm just saying this like this. But one side can tell you if you are married or not married. We wear that on our weddings for sure, or any ceremony, cultural ceremony that we have, or on Easter. I'm going to be wearing this soon. And we can move to the next one, please. Okay, so this is traditional men outfit. You're all going to say it looks like women, right? Yes, Rwandan men, they wear also the mushanana, which is the same as women, with a white shirt tucked into a wrapped floor-length skirt, and they need to put a beaded necklace, a big necklace, and they need a walking stick. This is again a reference to the king. Back in the days, we used to have kings and queen. So this is how the queen and king, they used to dress up. Next one, please. Okay, so when we talk about culture, what comes in my mind, what came in my mind as I was getting ready, this is the artifact. That's the word, right? So here you have in front of you something which is very important. I do believe in each culture, there's something you need to find in each homes. So in Rwanda, we have what we call ACCH. So it's like, we call it a peace basket. It's a basket with a tall pyramid shape. Historically, it was a symbol of harvest time, and plentiful food. So we use that also to put some of our food in there and keep them fresh in the house. You know, there's no fridge, so they use that for different reasons. This practice of this kind of basket was passed down from mother to daughter, from generation to generation. And it symbolized a rite of passage into womanhood, which means that when I got married, I had so many of these baskets that I received from my mom, my aunties, my friends, and we decorate them in our homes and everywhere. You can find them everywhere. It's a such deep sense of pride and culture, importance in the tradition, that the basket now operates on the national. It operates on the national currency. We can move to the next one, please. Okay, here. Okay, this picture. So I had to talk about the music too. So I'm starting with this international singer. His name is Corneille. He's a Canadian, but he's from Rwanda. He's well known in the Francophonie side. He's kind of my cousin. It's because we grew up together. He was in my brother's class back in the days in Kigali. So he's like a cousin of mine, and we're so proud of who he became, and he represents our country. So it's important for me to present him to you guys. We can move to the next one, please. And here there was a song. If you don't mind, Lady Adiba, we're just going to play just the beginning, and then you can turn off.
Je ne suis qu'un homme, donc j'ai la phobie de l'ombre. Je m'indigne de tout et peu de choses sont de ma faute. Le problème c'est l'autre. Pendant que ma sagesse résonne, un enfant meurt dans les mines du Congo. Mon iPhone, je raconte le monde. Yeah. Mes amis, face au dilemme de mon ego, je n'ai pour réponse que je t'aime. Et tout le monde est personne en même temps. On rêve le monde, on le déchire en même temps. On est tous fait la chasse au bonheur de l'instant. Je fais comme toi, je fais comme moi.
Thank you. Mr. Salami, did you like it? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, excellent. It's nice.
Okay, thank you. There was one more slide. Could you please go back after the 24th, maybe? Oh, that's it? Can you go back before? That's it? Okay, that's fine. That's okay. There was another video that I wanted to share. I was going to show you like a video which was going to conclude. So before I conclude, there was a short video summarizing my culture. I don't know, it's not on the PowerPoint. So on the video, I was going to show you exactly what I just presented, like a dance, clothing, the landscape, the artifact, and we can move to the conclusion now. As a conclusion, so all of this that I just presented to you very quickly made me who I am. So I had to be with having the opportunity to travel, even if it was not because we had to travel, we were forced to travel, but after that it was because we want to travel. I had to be a risk taker when I decided to immigrate here to Canada and move to Toronto all by myself without knowing anyone. So I find myself, thanks to my culture, thanks to my experience, I find myself being really open-minded person. And also thanks to all the people that I was able to meet when I was in school in Africa and in Europe. They made me appreciate other cultures, and I wanted to learn from them. So thanks to them, I became who I am today. I actually use that knowledge when I'm teaching and when I'm choosing the material to present to my students during French or history classes. Also, thanks to my culture, I'm resilient when I'm facing challenges due to the language barriers. Like being today here, this is a huge step for me because I'm very comfortable with French. I just finished like a webinar with my French student speaking a few hours before this one, and I was very comfortable. And being here today, it's really overcome my challenges, and also take myself outside of my comfort zone. And I'm also resilient due to my skin color. So I have faced, like everybody, I think most of us, I have faced racism many, many times. And I've learned to never give up and not to allow people's ignorance to stop me moving forward in my life. So I see also myself as a conclusion. I see myself, there's another one. I see myself, if you can click, you will see it. I see myself as a role model to my children and my students when I'm speaking French and English, and also my mother tongue, Kinyarwanda, when I'm working with different people with different backgrounds. So being here tonight, it is proof of inclusivity and a sign of collaboration, inclusivity from ACCH. And I believe in unity through diversity. So I like what Ms. Adams Idodi said, we are stronger together. And when she said that, I find myself included, and I think French and English Africans, we are stronger together. We might not see that much on our motherland, Africa, but I think we are going to do that here in Canada, in Milton. We are going to do that, and we are going to serve as an example for the rest of the world. It is possible to work together, doesn't matter the barrier of the culture and the language. So I believe in taking care of each other in achieving excellences. And I think ACCH, you are doing an amazing job. You are with all the thing that you have been doing since like not even 2 years already. So I'm very impressed. I want to say thank you for inviting me to your first culture talk. That was very stressful because that was the first time you having people talking about their culture. I hope I was able to teach you something about Rwanda, and I hope you'll be interested to visit the country. I think it's worth it. And if you are investors, they're open with people who wants to investing in Rwanda. You see now my French is coming back, so I'm at the end. So I just want to say thank you, and oh, that was the video, and God bless you. You have time to play it? Yeah. Woo! Thank you. So I just want to explain why we dance like this. I don't know if you can see me. It represent the cow horns, you see, because we, like a cows, they're very precious. We do eat them, but it's very precious. When we get married, we don't ask about, I don't know what you guys ask when you get married. We do ask about cows. So we ask the future man to give my family cows. So when we dance, we're just representing the cows because it's very precious, the cows. It give us milk and also meat, and we also use them in the farmers, you know. So that's why we dance with our hands. That's it. Thank you.
Amazing.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that great overview of your country's practices, touching on the religion, touching on the language spoken, especially the aspect of the peace basket. Sorry, I don't know how to say the name, but how it's passed down from mother to daughter generationally, especially just touching on the dance and the aspect of how they portray what they even mean within the song itself and the dance done.
Thank you.
Can we please have a round of applause for our speaker one more time?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Great. I will be handing it over back to my host, Madam Adams Idode, to continue with the next topic. Over to you, Madam.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. And Madam Aritwa, this was so interesting for me. I hope I'm sure everyone learned something. This is why our culture talk is so important. And it's also important for us to understand that we are really all the same. Yes, we may come from different geographical locations, but we're still all the same in terms of our way of life and our belief system. And most of the things that you had talked about from your country, Rwanda, is so similar and so relatable as well. So I'm thanking you for sharing with us. And this is why it's so important for us at ACCH to really come together and bring our communities, especially the African Caribbean communities, together, because we do have people from the Barbados, from Trinidad, Antigua Bay. There's small islands, the Kitts Islands, that we will be sharing as we move along and as we plan, in terms of cultural awareness, and also trying to impart, our level of competence, because it's important that when you learn about culture, it makes you more competent in hiring people, competent in relating to your community, and of course your leaders. And so at this time, so thank you so much, Madam Aritwa, for that expose and that very rich information from Rwanda, because all we hear and all we see on the media, quite frankly, is very negative. And it doesn't really impact us. It doesn't empower us. It doesn't make us move forward. That's the truth. So now that we're seeing Rwanda for what it is, one of the cleanest cities in Africa, it's so comparable to where we live now, and even better, maybe. But I want to open the floor for an interactive session. During the initial discussion about what ACCH is about, Mr. Salami, one of the directors of the board, asked a question, and it's a question that we would really like our audience to participate. We know that we all want to ask the Honorable Minister Anand questions, but this is about us. ACCH is about you and me. And if we begin to grasp and begin to understand how sequential our strength in our diversity is, whether you're from Francophone Africa, or whether you're from the Caribbean islands, or whether you're from any parts of South Africa, if we begin to grasp the power of how we can really function and elevate ourselves together, then trust me, we'll have elected officials, as Lady Abba has said. We have our children excelling even more and aspiring more to be leaders of the future tomorrow that they are. So how can we be more visible? How can we be more visible so that we can know what to do better? That's one question that has been asked. It will be helpful if anyone in the audience, you can unmute yourself, introduce yourself. If you're a member of any organization, let us know, because we like to be allies with our partners. And then tell us, how can we be more visible? That's one question. The other question I have, because it's good to have two questions that, whatever angle you feel that you could share with us, that would be very helpful, is how can the African Caribbean communities improve transparency in the government? This is talking about the inequity that we all are exposed to on a regular basis. And I'm sure there are people here in this audience who have been a part of the solution, or who may have recommendations for. So how can the African Caribbean community, especially ACCH, improve the transparency with the government, particularly so that we can track our progress and know what our limits are? So those are the two questions. If anybody wants to speak, once again, please feel free to open your mic and speak. The Honorable Minister will be here very shortly, so we want to make very good use of the time that we have before she comes, so that we can learn more about one another. And as we grow, as we continue to grow and develop more programs, we can be more impactful. Thank you. So anyone, please share with us. The virtual stage is open.
Nicola actually has her hands raised. Nicola, please go ahead.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Oh, you can?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to say this is an amazing opportunity. I think this is awesome at what we're doing. I think we need to, as a community, now being of African descent, having my parents Jamaican and my children's father Nigerian, I recognize the struggle that as a community that we have in gelling. And I think when we recognize how we're perceived as a people, it makes us even more aware of how much we really need to come together to really make a force for when it comes into government. Because government perceive us, they don't look at the differences within our race. And as much as we are one, we all individually are challenged in different ways because of our journey to where we are today. whether we're directly from the mother country or whether we've gone on a different route, it impacts us differently. But as a one united force, we have to really embrace what that difference is within our intercultural group, forward as a united front, and talk to that perspective, because we've been grouped together for so long. We know that we are primarily a voice of one, and that is ingrained on my heart. But when we go forward, we need to recognize we need to analyze how we perceived, how are we looked upon, for the fact that we are fragmented. If we look at the truth about our experiences, that we've been fragmented. And so, therefore, how much are we taken seriously? How much is our voices being heard? How much are we calling and able to come back and call to account the requests and the demands that we have asked for, put in place, and to ensure that they follow through with the things that we are asking for in the right and proper way, in the way they would have dealt with or is dealt with in other community groups. And we see that in other community groups because they are known to be one, and because we have this kind of stereotype or myth that we are just Black people, we are one, but we need to really fight for the causes of our brothers and sisters from the mother country, our brothers and sisters from the Caribbean continent, and all around the world, because we are dealing with a dispersed nation of people. And so the expectation is for us, we've done it before, but they never follow through. The stigma that we are tainted with is what we really must fight against. And that might be having a real hardcore conversation with each other so that we can embrace everything and everybody, because we have a history of not being one, and we must keep our intercultural issues within our intercultural, but go out as a unified front. And I'm talking from that perspective because of primarily not as a criticism, but primarily how we are received by people in power, period. And that's hard talk. That's going to be a hard conversation we need to have, because it's a self-searching thing. And I need to know, if you're a winner, I'm a winner too. If I'm a winner, you're a winner too. And together we are winners, but we cannot do it alone. And we've been taught by history that we can do it alone, and we can't. We need to accept that. We've got a bad track record, and we need to change that track record. We can only do that by saying we are unpenetrable, we are of love, we are working together, but we are forward thinking, and we are solution based. That's all I had to say.
Thank you so much, Nicola. You've said so much in a bombshell. And I think the fragmentation is what ACC is a breach for. Because even though you're so right, and this is the kind of hard talk that ACCH is really about. And it's not just only about ACCH, it's about our community, it's about us as a people, as a collective force, as that are ready and serious and intention about who they are and where they want to go to. So the intention is real, and the effect of the change that we want to see is now. It's not about just the fact that we're coming together. And that's why we're having this culture talk, because I think part of the culture talk series is really to make us embrace one another more. And I think knowledge, as one of the Mr. Salami has said, is power, because when we begin to learn more about ourselves, share more about ourselves, we begin to understand that we're kind of peeling out all the veil of colonialism, the veil of stereotypical mindset that we have been ingrained and that we have been cultured to, right? So it's important that it would be nice to hear from another person, because what Nicola has said is on point. However, this is what we're about, and that's why you're here, and that's why you're part of it, because you're part of that force of change as well. That's why you're here to show your support, and also to give us the umbrella of self-reflection, because doing all of this without really thinking how we can track our progress is also very important. So if I could hear from maybe one or two other persons, I don't want to call out names, but I would just, I think, quickly sort of repeat the question again. You can add another thing to it, but how can we be more visible so that we can know what to do better? I think that's one of the questions I was asked. Yes.
The minister is here.
Okay. So thank you so much, Lady Abba. So I would not take more time because we've been waiting for the Honorable Minister Anam. And I want to thank you, Honorable Minister, for coming today. And
I'm so sorry. I'm Anita's staff. She's just going to be joining in about 10 minutes.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Thank you. Well, that's okay. Thank you for acknowledging that. Thank you for letting us know. So back to what I was saying, and if there's somebody that wanted to add in terms of tracking our progress, because yes, we're going through a lot of dynamics. We're going through a lot of metamorphosis, I could say that. So how can we be more visible? That's very important. And how can we be that, make our government accountable? Because coming together is great. Talking about our culture is fantastic, but there's a next step that we need to take, and that's a serious step. And I think Nicola had stressed it very accurately. So if we can please bear the next 10 minutes, if anyone has another contribution about our Black Excellency program that ACCH is going to be embarking on this year, which is extremely important in our environment that we live in. Volunteerism is key. So if anyone here has something to add, and there's so many people here that I know and I can see that have organizations that they partner with that they can share with us as well, and we can partner with them. I'm not going to call out names, but if you want to speak, please unmute yourself or raise your hand, and then the stage is yours.
Can I just say something? What I want to say is, like, yeah, so with Black organizations,
can you introduce yourself?
So the name is Alex, and I have participated in different organizations in terms of like just volunteering my time. Essentially, what I'm really passionate about is to see Black people get the work done. For example, like we have a good strategy and plans. We have nice organizations like this one, African Caribbean. And then the question is like, how do we implement those strategies? So for me personally, like I've seen a lot of Black folks in positions of power and authority where they can make a difference, but they're not really willing to help the younger ones or to help other people come up. So I think that's a problem because one person can get the job done. We need to work collectively. And to address that problem, I don't know how we can address that problem, but I guess we can start having these difficult conversations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alex, for that thoughtful reflection about Black people in positions of power and not helping each other in mentorship, for instance, or in the process of empowering other communities and Black people. Any other contributions, please? It's a wonderful thought. And although you didn't give us a solution for that, but it's obviously a discussion that we'll have to dig into and get the results, because we are result-oriented people as well. Any other comments? Any other recommendations?
If I may just quickly say a word to what Mr. Alex Abraham said. And it is so important for us to be able to help ourselves. I said it when I was talking about some of the things that we need to focus on. We want other people to help us, but we're not helping ourselves. What kind of message are we really sending? If we are in position of power, if we feel that our brothers and sisters qualify, why are we not hiring them? And I've seen it in corporate Canada. I've seen it just because they don't want to be targeted. They would rather hire somebody else. They don't want people to say, oh, they're hiring somebody that looks like them. But do they qualify? That's the question. And I'm actually going to use an example of former Prime Minister Krishan. When Prime Minister Krishan was in power, he actually hired his brother as an ambassador to another country. And people were complaining that why would he hire his brother? And he asked them the question, does it qualify? So the fact that I'm a prime minister, my brother should suffer is the same thing, is the same concept. If we are not good ambassadors, how can we then ask somebody else to be a good ally? We need to look out for ourselves. We're not saying hire people that look like you. We're not saying be biased. We're saying be fair. We're saying there should be equity. And if we're not looking out for our brothers and sisters, we really don't have a right to ask anybody else to do it for us. And so we say that change, the change that we're looking for starts with you, it starts with me. And it will not be easy, but we need to do it. And please, if you don't mind putting your emails on the chat so that you can get a recording of this event, and we can also add you on our newsletter, please put your email on the chat. And if you do want to be taking an active part in ACCH, please also let us know. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lady Abba. I don't know if the Honorable Minister is ready, but that was precisely what ACCH is about. We need to really synergize our strengths and be honest to ourselves. If you have a business and you think that you don't want to hire because of what other people think, then we're not helping ourselves, quite frankly. But we're gonna make sure that any questions after the Honorable Minister speaks will be certainly directed to her. We may not have time to respond to questions. Anyway, that's subject to the Honorable Minister's discretion if she would be answering questions after the session. But I just wanted to point out that in the event that she's not able to answer questions, I would urge you to please put your questions in the chat. We would endeavor to make sure the questions get to the Honorable Minister, and your response will be sent back to you when the Minister has the time and she's available. So any other quick comments before the Honorable Minister comes in? Mr. Salami or Christine McIntosh? Any other comments with respect to?
Hi.
Thank you. Hi, Christine.
Hi, can you guys hear me okay?
Very well.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, just kind of, adding on to what Lady Abba had mentioned, just in regards to, hiring people that look like us and, obviously on their best merit. I have found in certain situations, especially in the corporate world, that there can be, those restrictions of nepotism and what have you. But I do know that in 2020, the government of Canada reiterated its commitment to fight racism in all forms through clear and meaningful investments on a number of key areas such as economic opportunity, but as well as diversity in corporate Canada. So I would really be interested in, learning and understanding how the government is working more, I guess, direct and intentional with corporate to kind of break down those barriers and allow us to kind of, look at the recruitment process a little differently.
Thank you, Christine, for that insight. Any other comments, recommendations, ways that ACCH can advance its efforts and its programs for the year? Any collaboration, insight into what we can do together? If you don't want to unmute your microphone, you can at least add that to the comment chat. We have a digital team that will reach out to you. If you want us to collaborate with you, partner with you, that's what we're all about as well. We're here to bridge bridges, and we're here to grow together. Okay, so when Madame Aritwa was talking about culture, something came to my mind, and when she defined herself at the conclusion of the, I find myself echoing. Can everybody hear me? Just thumbs up, please.
Yes, I think there's other
There's an echo.
Yeah.
I think the echo is on Nicola's line. If you can mute, there you go.
Oh, thank you. So when she spoke and when she gave her summary of who she is, in terms of the mixture of all of the experiences, her lived experiences, the different countries she's gone to, her marriage, partnership with the Togolese. It just gave me a reflection of myself too, because when you look at yourself and you look at what culture is a accumulation of so many factors, including where you currently reside. So I thought that I should sort of try to define myself the way she defined herself. I said I choose not to be.
Oh dear, did we lose her?
It seems like.
Yeah.
Now.
Does somebody want to take over then?
Okay, so sorry about that. Okay, so he's back now.
So this is what happens with virtual events. The device goes up, switch to another device. If the Honorable Minister is available, I would love to give her time. Okay. I think Nicola Blair, you're okay. I thought you were going to speak.
I was, but I didn't know if you was back because I'm not sure. But just to answer your question, I was going to, while the technology works out itself, is that I think how to give a solution would be to ensure that whenever we ask, because we know how going on what Kristen was referring to, going on the fact that it's being very much presented as a new air of consciousness within corporate Canada and across the society, that we ensure that it remains on the agenda and the way of best practice by ensuring that we are requesting data and metrics with regards to the successes and the value of these changes, so that we can speak to that when we need to. So what I mean by that is, in the UK, we talk about the 3%. That means as an organization, you only have to provide 3%. Because then that becomes a tick box. How that now has changed in the UK, I can only imagine. But where Canada is starting off, and the fact that there's so little data and so little research based on what does success look like with a diverse board, with a diverse people in senior management. This is where they were able to quantify and qualify the value in which the impact of having that change has had on their business. And if not, let's analyze and not be fearful, because we know what we bring. That often is just that we haven't been given the opportunity to sit at the senior top. So when I'm talking top, I'm not talking management, I'm talking board level, I'm talking directorship. Why at the education board do we not see ourselves represented? What is, and then we then have to do the work and say, okay, why do we not feel that we would qualify? Because that's our self-centered learning. But we must ask for data and metrics so that we can say, even on a budgetary level, we provide a service that looked like this, and this was the outcome, and this was the demand. And based on the demand, the Black community will then support Black communities, because the value is in the data. As in, if it's a demand, then they will fund it. If there is value, then they will fund it. And so it goes against everything with regards to budgetary, especially when it comes to public services. They want to see evidence-based practice. How did that roll out? What was the outcome?
Thank you so much, Nicola. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you so much for that. And that's so true to your point. But I'm sure we don't want to keep everyone waiting, because the Honorable Minister Anand is here. Honorable Minister, good evening. Welcome to ACCH. Welcome to our Let's Talk series. And we're so glad that you were able to join us. I'm sure you had a very long day, and I'm hoping, and everyone is patiently waiting to hear what you have to say. We want to know what procurement is. We want to learn more about it. We thank you for keeping to your word, as you had mentioned, that you want to be a part of an ILA and an ambassador to ACCH and speak to us. And so that is why we have waited patiently for you. Without further ado, I just want to briefly introduce you, your Honorable Minister, to your audience who have been waiting to hear you speak. The Honorable Anita Anand is an academician. She has received many awards and distinctions in her service to the community. She was first elected as a minister, or as a member of the parliament for Oakville in 2019. She's a scholar, a lawyer, a researcher, a mother of 4 beautiful children, and she was raised in rural Nova Scotia before she moved to Ontario in 1985. She is a devoted leader and with a proven track record of service. She's served on so many boards, too numerous to mention within the time that we have. But without further ado, Madam Minister, we would warmly, graciously welcome you to this beautiful evening. I can't really see the sun anymore, but to welcome you graciously to this virtual event by ACCH. So can we give Madam Honorable Minister a very warm welcome? Thank you. The stage is yours, Madam Honorable Minister.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. And it's just such an honor to be with you tonight, all of you. And I hope this is the beginning of many conversations. And I'll really look forward to being part of your group and participating and discussing procurement and any other issues that arise from a policy or other nature. I just wanted to mention before I begin my remarks that I'm still in the middle of voting in the House of Commons. So just before I begin the remarks, I'm just going to pause briefly, go and do my vote, and then come back. I don't need to go off camera or anything. I just have to vote at my other screen that is here beside me, okay? So if you could just give me 30 seconds to do the voting, I'll be right back, and you can watch me vote.
Thank you so much for your service. Thank you.
Okay, I voted now. Thank you. And I'll have to vote again in 10 minutes, so I'll just watch out of the corner of my eye there what's happening, if that's okay, on your side. And now I get to start the remarks, which is the funnest part for me. And I first of all want to thank you so much for your kind introduction, and thank you for inviting me, as I said, to join you this evening. I'm really looking forward to hearing your questions, so I'll try not to speak too long. Of course, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge that I'm meeting you from the territory of many First Nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee and the Wendat peoples. So I want to talk a little bit about my role as the Minister of Public Services and Procurement. I am working every day to leverage federal procurement to achieve social and economic policy goals, which includes increasing the participation of underrepresented groups in Canadian society. I can't stress this enough, that even during the COVID-19 pandemic, when we have been procuring PPE and vaccines, I have remained in touch with my department to indicate how important it is that we diversify federal supply chains. What does that mean? That means that we need to make sure that underrepresented groups have access to federal procurement opportunities. So I am very committed to ensuring that Black businesses are able to benefit from participation in the federal procurement efforts and in federal supply chains. Let me just put this number of procurement in context for you. The Government of Canada spends roughly $23 billion through federal procurement. Of that amount, my department of PSPC manages about $17 billion on behalf of departments, other departments across government, because we are the common service provider. And the remainder of the contracts are awarded by other government departments right across the federal government, generally through smaller contracts. And the role that PSPC can play is one of leadership. We can actually influence, I believe, the way in which other government departments do their procurements. And so what I've done with a particular section of my department is to set up an area of the staff that is designed for reaching out to diverse communities to ensure that they have the support and the resources they need to make applications for federal procurement opportunities. This is so important to me. It is so important to empower marginalized communities, to increase diversity in procurement, and in particular to support Black entrepreneurs. And I've been saying this for a year and a half since I've been appointed to cabinet. And I began to hold roundtables with the Black business community to make sure that I was responding to their messages. We heard those messages loud and clear, that the Black-led organizations and entrepreneurs want to participate in federal procurements, want to benefit from the economic opportunities. So what did I do then? After holding these roundtables, I said to my department, we need to launch a pilot project to specifically target Black businesses in procurements and to open up select bidding opportunities in several regions for various goods and services for Black owned or led businesses alone. So we launched those targeted procurements in January. And since then, we've posted 12 procurements on our buy and sell website. The goal is to award contracts to small companies owned or led by Black Canadians in multiple regions right across the country before the end of the current fiscal years. And this pilot will also provide our department with the opportunity to identify successes and to learn lessons to support increased opportunities in economic growth for Black Canadians, while also helping to inform the expanded use of targeted approaches to increase diversity in future procurements. So this pilot program's just a first step, but it's a tangible first step to expand procurement opportunities for Black entrepreneurs. We know that more is needed to encourage the participation of Black-owned and led businesses in federal procurement. We've had some success. We've had some challenges in attracting businesses and enabling them to take advantage of these procurement opportunities. But let's just say these learnings are very important to me personally and to my department and to our government to help shape future pilots and better support Black entrepreneurs. What are we going to do next? Well, we're going to launch a request for information to engage the Black community at a broader level so that we learn more about the realities, the economic realities, and the sectors that this community operates in, and the challenges that may prevent participation in federal procurement. As I mentioned, we have a specific office. It's called our Office of Small and Medium Enterprises, and it delivers training. It provides assistance. It liaises with small businesses owned and led by underrepresented groups across Canada. Black owned and led businesses, Indigenous businesses, LGBTQ businesses, women Indigenous businesses, and the like. It's the purpose of this organization within my department is to make sure that we are diversifying federal supply chains. We're also working on developing a social procurement policy and program, which aims to advance our commitment at PSPC to diversity, to accessibility, to inclusion, to gender equality, and to tackling systemic racism. These words don't just roll off my tongue. They actually mean a lot to me personally. I know that our experiences as racialized individuals are different, but of all jobs I've had in my life, believe that this is an opportunity that I can work hard to ensure that federal procurement and economic opportunities are opened up to less diverse populations. I want to ensure that we're able to leverage the contracts issued by departments, issued by agencies, to make a positive and significant impact for Black Canadian businesses and other underrepresented groups. It's clear that COVID-19 has affected visible minorities and other diverse communities in disproportionate ways. And I believe that equality of opportunity is a foundation, but our government is committed to making our economy more inclusive. And I feel that I have a unique role to play here to combat racism, to ensure that Black history, Black voices, and Black lived experiences are part of federal procurements. So what I'd really love to do is hear about your priorities and hear about your challenges so that we can inform future programs and initiatives. It's essential for us to be aware of and to be able to respond to the realities that the Black community faces. It's not just one conversation. It's not just two conversations. It's an ongoing dialogue that has to continue regardless of the pandemic, regardless of the economic recovery that we will see once our society returns to normalcy. This is a process, and I hope to participate in leading it. So thank you so much. Merci, Megwech.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for giving us an interlude into what your department is about and your commitment. And I think this is truly why ACCH is doing this, because we have members of the community, members of various leadership groups that are partakers of this Let's Talk series. We have questions. I do certainly agree that equality is an opportunity for a foundation, which is similar to access to justice, which is another passionate engine of creating that opportunity for not just the Black communities, but also the African Caribbean communities as well. So I would hand it over to Mr. Abi Salami, who is one of our directors, because there are lots of questions for you, and I'm sure you're ready and you're prepared for them. So Mr. Abi Salami, over to you to ask your question to the Honorable Minister. Thank you.
Yeah.
Could I just say one thing, Ibosa, please? I just noticed Nicole is here from my office. So Nicole, hi. Nicole works as a caseworker in my constituency office. And I think I also have another constit staff here. I know Jamie's on the line. Is there anybody else on the line, Nicole? Okay. So Jamie Wilson and Nicole Mills, great to have you guys here. And thanks for supporting me and being part of the team. Thanks so much. Sorry about that, Abi Salami.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madam Minister. And we really, really appreciate your time and all the efforts and your commitment to, especially to make the community better. There are several questions that people are posting, but the first one is they want to know where do we go to learn more about the opportunities, step-by-step process, so that we can take advantage. Do we have a website? Do you have any link? So that at least that will put our foot on the door and start going.
So I thank you for the question. That's exactly what I am talking about when I'm mentioning the need for increased opportunities. This is what we're hearing from the Black community, that there are businesses that want to access federal contracting opportunities and they just don't know where to start. And the reality is that it's complicated, but that shouldn't be a barrier. So we have in this, in my department, this Office of Small and Medium Enterprises, and I'm going to revamp that office so it has the name of inclusion and diversity in the title of the office. Maybe that will be giving a signal to underrepresented groups that they can use that office to learn more about how to file applications and contracts with our department. So I'm really pushing hard for my department to be overhauled in a way to make it more diversity friendly. They're doing a great job now, but more can be done. And in addition, I will say that I don't know how long I'm going to be in this role, right? It's elected office. You don't know. We're in a minority government. So I say to myself and my department, I need these processes in place because when I leave, I want this to continue. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to put in structures that are going to be there, not just for a day, not just for a month, but after I leave, those people are going to hear my voice in their ears that we need to keep open federal supply chains for diverse communities. We need to assist with applications. We need to answer questions. We need to provide feedback, and we need to work really hard. So we did this pilot project with the Black community already. We're continuing to do that. I did targeted procurements to the Indigenous community during COVID and awarded $100 million worth of contracts to that community. We're going to keep going. There's more work to be done here. This conversation, as I said, will hopefully give me some tips to keep going back to the drawing board with. So thank you so much. And I might just have to take a moment and go vote for a second. So I'll be right back for the next question. Thank you. I'm going to just turn off my. Okay, looks like they're not ready for voting yet. They're talking about something, so I can take another question and then I will, I'll go back to voting.
Okay, thank you so much. Another question that has been around before you, you join us is people are asking that what kind of information do we really need, and how can we as a community engage and be opportune in the procurement plan with the federal government, so that we can be among the people that get the procurement and the business of the government as a community.
So are you talking about specific opportunities, how you can be made aware of them?
Yes. What are the process? Like we know you have a lot of procurement in your office. You're doing a lot of stuff to make sure that the community engage and get opportunity in. What are the process to do that? Like, say for example, I wake up tomorrow and say I want to be part of how I can do things with the federal government. Where can I start? How can I do that?
Well, I think that that's one of the things that our Office of Small and Medium Enterprises should be doing, which I've asked to be renamed to something like the Office of Diversity and Inclusion in Procurement. We can be telling you about opportunities. You can be regularly in touch with our office. We will tell you about what opportunities are posted. So, for example, maybe you'd never even heard of our Black Pilot project before. Maybe you would have wanted to participate in it. Well, how are you supposed to know about it if you're not following me on Twitter? So that's the type of thing I mean. We need to make sure that we have really solid channels of outreach to your community, and that has to be right across the country. And that's what I'm trying to figure out. How do we best do that? And staying in touch with you so that when we have a news release, I can send it to your group and you can send it to your network so that people know. That's the key thing. There are opportunities there and we have to make sure people can access them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Abi Salami, if you don't mind, and the minister mentioned something, and then Kristen has raised her hand. So she talked about targeted procurement for the indigenous people. And I think that to us would really help us to understand not just the logistics in terms of what was that targeted procurement geared towards, and using that as an example just to enlighten us a little bit as to what that targeted procurement specifically was for. I know there's a lot of needs in the indigenous communities, but it's so similar and would be applicable to the African Caribbean community as well. So if you can give us a snapshot of that targeted procurement, and then that could sort of help us to be more aware or give us the information as to how we can also seek some targeted procurement within our communities as well.
Sure. Let me just pull out my my information on the indigenous procurement. So let's start with this. In my mandate letter from the federal government, I have a target to ensure that there is at least 5% of federal contracts awarded to businesses managed and led by Indigenous peoples. And we are taking action in procurement to advance reconciliation as well as to meet that target, at least 5% of federal contracts. So that is kind of the starting point for me when it comes to the Indigenous procurements, that we've got to make sure that we are responding to what's in my mandate letter from the Prime Minister. But as I said, during COVID, I wanted to make sure that I was reaching out to diverse communities. So what I did is I said, look, we're procuring contracts for many, many masks, right? Why can't we do a targeted procurement to Indigenous businesses that are making masks? So that's exactly what we did. We did these targeted procurements to Indigenous businesses who in the mask area, in the transportation area, in the hand sanitizer area. These weren't gigantic contracts in the billions of dollars, but they allowed us to see what businesses are out there in terms of Indigenous peoples, and to award, I said, over $100 million worth of contracts. It was actually $120 million in those areas. So obviously every community is different, but one thing that I think racialized Canadians need is they need more racialized ministers. They need more ministers that actually understand what racism might look like. Now, I'm not trying to say that my racism in my experiences are identical to the Black communities or the Indigenous communities, but I have my own experiences, and I have a different outlook and a different commitment to women and to racialized minorities. And I said to my department, if there is a minister that cares about diversity and procurement, I'm that minister, and I can't leave this office without making some serious change. So tell me what we're doing for Black History Month, and tell me what we're going to be doing in terms of protecting racist speech in Canada Post's mailings, for example. We've got to do more across the board, and I'm just trying to use my position to be better, to make our government better. And luckily, diversity in procurement is a very accessible niche that I can actually make some progress and some change in. So we need to have these kind of roundtables and these conversations, so you can keep asking those types of questions, and I can keep getting you answers if I am not able to give them to you on a night like this.
Kristen McIntosh had a hand raised, and I'll give her the stage to ask to the question to the Honorable Minister, please.
Yes, thank you, Edosa, and thank you, Minister. So I just wanted to go back to the percentage in regards to the Indigenous folks, and just wondering, what does that percentage look like for the Black community, and how intentional is the mandate to ensure that the procurement contracts are allocated to our community?
Well, so that's a very good question, and one I asked myself, right? Because I said, well, why can't we have a 5% limit or minimum in there for other racialized communities as well? And that was what led to these targeted procurements for the Black community, these pilot programs where we've launched 10 contracts just for Black businesses. Because I want to now take this information to the Prime Minister and say, look, we have had a fantastic response from the Black community. We need to take this another step further. So that's the next step. And I've got to say, the Prime Minister is all in on this. He doesn't take any convincing in terms of us needing to do these Black pilots and reaching out to the Black community. He was overjoyed when I told him we were doing this, and he was very happy that I did this in a matter of months. So he wants me to make sure that I'm continuing to go down this road.
Thank you, Minister. We're not going to keep you too long. I know you had a very long day, but we have Nicola had raised her hand, and we have Angela Ogeba had raised their hand. You can unmute yourself and ask the Honorable Minister your question. Thank you so much.
Hello, and thank you again for attending, Anita and Anand. My name is Nicola Blair. I work for Act On It. I'm the owner of the company that specifically looks at meeting the needs of Black mental health needs within our community, as well as others, looking specifically at intercultural mental health services. Now, having coming from the UK and in the National Health Service, we had a mandate to look at integrated healthcare and public services. And I wonder whether in Canada, we are having that debate with regards to integrating the services of public health that was specifically put in place to ensure that people do not fall through the cracks, as in often it was a high disproportionate number of Black people that were not accessing healthcare services, social services, criminal justice services. And so I'm adamant and dedicated to ensuring how do we implement quality assurances within government as a layer to ensure the likes of what you're doing becomes a structure, becomes a body, whether that is an independent body that is a non-voted body within government, just like there is the NICE project or quality assurance or quality cares in the UK. What level of government, or what's your view on ensuring that we have some form of quality assurance that should you be faced with it, you moving on and someone stepping your shoes, that your legacy continues and that the work continues to ensure that equality, equitability in across public services is founded? And how does someone like myself really get involved with ensuring that becomes part of the agenda and remains in that way?
So I am not sure if you know that we've got this really complex healthcare system in Canada, where we've got the Constitution, which says that the federal government runs the Canada Health Act, but the provinces have to administer healthcare. So in the vaccine context, for example, I procure the vaccines for the federal government, but then the provinces have to make sure that they're administering the vaccines. And in terms of mental health supports, it's similar but not identical. Generally speaking, we provide the funding to the provinces and territories, and then they, through those health transfers, which we just, announced an increase of the amount of money for health today by the federal government. But the provincial government decides. So you may have differing health supports for racialized communities with mental health issues right across the country, depending on if the government of the day believes that that's a priority, which I think at the end of the day, that does present an issue, a difficult issue, right? you and your sister live in different provinces, you may have access to different supports. But by the same token, our Minister of Health, Patty Hajdu, is very committed to supporting mental health and mental health issues, especially as they have arisen through COVID. Because we know that, as you said, racialized minorities have suffered inordinately through COVID, and especially those with mental health challenges. So there's funding that the federal government has given for mental health supports, for hotlines, for online support for mental health issues that have arisen through COVID. But I think you're hitting the nail on the head that this is a very fragmented regime, and we're not, as kind of a country, yet able to say that we've done this well. We have much more work to do in the area of mental health. And the one thing I can say is we need actually to put politics aside, and we need to come together and have a discussion about what is the best way to address youth mental health in racialized communities, especially as they relate to women. And hopefully that would present a way forward for us. But you're exactly right. There's so much more work to be done, and I feel like I personally don't have the control and the ability to do as much work in this area as I do in procurement, given that of my ministry.
And it's in the procurement is the opportunity whereby services that are specifically specialized in looking at intercultural, as in intercultural for the diversity of our society, including, mixed race, multiculturalism, and etc., to recognize that there is a significant difference in the needs of someone who is just not Canadian, from any nation, and so that's what the ask is in a sense of procurement as well. Are they accessing the service? Are they accessing the budgetary contracts? Are they accessing, and if there's a body that a lobbying that can bring into quality assurance banner that manages and puts governance to apply.
So the one thing I think you can always do is write to your member of parliament, right, Nicole? Jamie, is write to us, and we take your concern forward, no matter what the issue is. So I'm your member of parliament, or whoever is your member of parliament, that's their responsibility. And you can always copy me on those emails if you're not in my riding. Are you in my riding, Oakville? Of Oakville? I think you're on mute.
My business is in Oakville, but I live in Milton.
Okay, well, lucky Adam Van Couverdon and I would work on your file together then, and Nicole and Jamie would read your messages and make sure we do the right thing for you in this area and bring your concern forward. And I take that very seriously. So just because I'm the Minister of Procurement doesn't mean that I don't think very seriously about that issue. I mean, obviously mental health is a concern for our entire country, and it will continue to be that way even after this pandemic. So that's what I say. There are some issues, they're not going to be solved with the vaccines. You know what I mean? We got a long way to go with addressing racism, mental health challenges. These are systemic problems in our society that we have to remain dedicated to. So thank you, Nicola, for coming to our country and for raising this important issue with us.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Madam Minister. We have Angela. She has a question. Angela, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. Honorable Minister, I was very happy to hear you talk about the work that your department has been doing to show inclusion of racialized minorities across Canada. Good job. You talked about transportation, you talked about masks for COVID prevention, which are all great. But what about the arts? Lately, racism is trending. A lot of Canadians are having that conversation about racism, and rightly so. Interestingly, art is a very fine, a very subtle way of passing the message of inclusion, acceptance, collaboration, and it goes on. I was wondering, is there any support for Black artists, maybe to sell their works to federal government offices, place the works in schools where people could assess these works and have that conversation going? Last month was Black History Month in Canada. I don't know if any Black artists or any Black contractors were invited to propose how they could collaborate with the federal government to fully celebrate the event and make it really showcase Black culture and how living in Canada has, influenced that culture to make us even better. I would be very pleased if you could elaborate on this. Thank you.
Well, I want to say first of all that I'm very partial to the topic that you have raised. My parents actually lived in Nigeria. My sister was born in Nigeria, and this was the case before they moved to Nova Scotia, rural Nova Scotia. And my mother actually grew up in Uganda and Kenya as well. So art of the Black community is just one of the things that I grew up with because my mother, although she's a medical doctor, she painted a lot. And her paintings reflected a lot of the art that she had in her vicinity, whether she was in Nigeria or when she was a child growing up in Uganda. So I personally believe in the importance of diversity in the arts and the type of art. And that's essentially what your question is responding to, right?
Correct.
How can we ensure that we've got, diversity in the type of art that is becoming part of what the Canadian artistic landscape is all about? And I know that our heritage minister, Minister Guibault, as well as our Minister of Diversity and Inclusion, Bardish Chugger, are very committed to, generally speaking, issues that relating to diversity across the arts. But in particular, I don't actually know the answer to your question about whether we have provided funding specifically targeted to Black artists and whether there are those funding opportunities available. So I'll ask Nicole here if she can help me get that answer for you and give it to you specifically. I wouldn't be surprised if there are those opportunities, but I need to find out specifically before I give you any information. I'll just say that we have given a number of funding opportunities to Black-led organizations across Halton. I make those calls every month. They emanate from a number of the different ministries across our government. So it wouldn't surprise me if we have those opportunities for Black artists, but I'll go back and make sure I get the right information and give it to you through my caseworker, Nicole. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister
Yeah,
Anna. Sorry, Mr. Abbey, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to thank the Honorable Minister for her contribution. And at the same time, I want to remind her that you are not on the spot here. I know you probably don't have all the answers to all the questions. And I don't want you to feel like, we put you on the spot, But at the same time, we go through this. You remember our last meeting, we continually saying that a lot of work has to be done. So we know that a lot of work has to be done. But what is the percentage of the assurance that we can get that? Is it time now? When are we going to actually see the changes into effect? That is very, very important. So I will now indulge you to use your office. And I know you are so passionate about the diverse community and all that. But when are we going to actually see the changes? Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Don't apologize for raising this important question. Of course, this is a question on my mind too. I think that with, humbly, if I could say, with me as minister, you are seeing some changes. The Black pilot project for 10 contracts for Black led and owned businesses is an example. That's never been done before across government. With me as minister, we actually now have 10 pilot projects being launched just for Black businesses. We are also seeing the revamping of this office within my department, which is going to be targeted for racialized communities specifically, so that when you have a question about a federal procurement, you know where you can go. And I will circulate that number to you and that contact information so that you can call them. I can do that as early as tomorrow. That's the type of thing that I want to do. And you're right. We can't just talk in platitudes. Talking is one thing, but we need to get things done. So if you have other ideas of things I could be doing right now, please tell me. I will do whatever I can to make sure that we are diversifying federal supply chains. I believe that our economy shouldn't be controlled and run solely by one demographic group. I think we have multiple minorities in this country that have incredible talent that needs to be leveraged, that needs to have opportunities the way others have for decades and centuries before us.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Ms. Edosa.
Thank you again, Honorable Minister Anand, for your time. I know you're in session, you're working, but
I have my hands up.
Sorry, Mr. Solid, but I will let you speak, and then the next voice you're going to hear will be Adejisola Atiba, who will be giving our vote of thanks. We had our program till 8 o'clock, but the minister was so gracious to wait, and then we really want to hear her and learn more. And so after Mr. Solid speaks, we'll have Lady Abba Adejisola Atiba, who is the president of ACCH, give the votes and closing remarks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Minister. Madam Minister, thank you so much for the time. Sincerely appreciate all your efforts, towards the Black community. Just as you asked us, what other things do you think you should be doing for our community? I believe personally that we should have, representation in different offices, either in the provincial or in the federal. In terms of employment or appointment, because that's the way you understand our community better. We have, people who understand our businesses, and we have people who understand, our goals and visions in terms of businesses and things like that. So one of the challenges I find out when I go to different, ministries and interact with different in the provincial and the federal level, I hardly see people of color, in those offices. So if I go in there, they don't understand what I'm saying. So those are part of the challenges we are encountering. Yes, we have this time to, back and forth and to chat, but you see, if we have representation in there, the person, you can, on a daily basis, ask the person questions. You can say, look, okay, what businesses is thriving in Nigeria? What businesses is thriving in the Caribbean? What businesses can we do? And what are the pros and cons if we, things like that. So generally, that's kind of my suggestions. I know we have different, for us, we know that for a while there have been a lot of obstacles. There are a lot of challenges of our community members getting into positions and offices, and so we're wondering how you can address that. Not just you. I know generally, as my, the MC just talked about. We're not putting you on your spot, but just to let you know, these are some of the things we believe, should be, looked at to kind of further, enhance, our community, involvement in government. Thank you.
Look, I want to tell you how much I appreciate that comment. I hear it and feel it. And let me tell you, I sit in the House of Commons and I look across the aisle and I don't see anyone that looks like me. I don't even feel like I belong sometimes. And I have to I say to myself, I'm trying to set an example for others, for other racialized minorities. I'm the first Hindu woman ever elected to the Parliament of Canada, and it's 2020. It was elected in 2019. I'm the first Hindu cabinet minister. You know, this change is slow, and it's frustrating, and it's depressing sometimes, and it can make you cry, and makes me very sad. And then I just say to myself, keep going, because if you don't keep going, people are going to think that it will never change. And we need other people, other racialized minorities to run for office too, and to become leaders in hospitals and universities and schools and school boards and town councils, and the list goes on. So every time a young woman or man calls me and wants some advice about running for office, I always say yes, because I may be busy, but I'm not the future. I'm the present. And we need leaders coming up through the ranks. We need to support those leaders. We need to fund those leaders. We need to fundraise for those leaders, and we need to promote them so that they have a shot and they have a chance at a system that has historically not included racialized minorities. I'm only one person. It's going to take all of us every single day, every conversation, every dinner time discussion, every group meeting to say, how can we advance? And it's heartbreaking that we have to do this work because of historically racist practices. And as I speak with my Indigenous friends, colonial practices that simply have been excluded whole communities, whole societies. But again, at the end of the day, I got to kind of brush myself off and get dressed in my little red blazer here and just keep trying. And that's why I'll keep coming back to talk to you guys and other roundtables of people that I organize to speak with, because these communities understand kind of what it's like. What's it like, looking at a room of members of parliament where most of the members are white and most of them are men. So I'll just say that I hear what you're saying. It's hard as heck, and it's not fun sometimes. But I try to say to myself, try to be positive, try to represent those people who need you. That's why you're there. And you're also there to procure vaccines. But the issue of representing the underrepresented, that's why I got into politics. That's why I wanted to run. I believed I had a role to play, and I'll keep doing it until, that there's no chance to do that anymore. But I'll just say that when I was first out of law school and I wrote my thesis was on racial discrimination. My thesis was on how do we make this society better? And that is something that has stuck with me for my whole life. So I'll keep working at it, and I think we all have to in our own way.
Please, can we all give a virtual thank you to the Honorable Minister?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We know it's been a very long day, but before I thank you, I just want to say, shout out to everybody that stayed from the beginning till this moment. Thank you so much for your time. Again, we need to continue to show up. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being a part of the conversation. We need to continue to speak up. As we heard the Honorable Minister say, we need to continue the conversation. It could be depressing at times, but we need to brush off and, put that smile on and try the best we can to be involved and be engaged. So I thank everybody. And I want to really, really thank Marie Teresa Wito for your culture talk. That was amazing. That was
thank you.
We learned a lot from you today. Thank you for sharing about Rwanda. Thank you for sharing about Togo. Thank you for sharing about all the places that makes you who you really are today. That was amazing. And I'm happy that it's recorded, so the Honorable Minister will actually have a taste of what our culture talk is all about. So thank you so much. And to you, Honorable Minister Anita, and seriously, I know it's been a long day and you're still working, you're tired, yet you're here. We really appreciate it. I was actually going to mention the last time you came during the town hall, you told us that you actually wrote a thesis on racism. And here we are. It's about 20-something years ago, you said? And here we are. We're still talking about it today. But the point is, we'll need to continue that conversation.
And we need to make change. We need to keep going, and we need to support people who are going for the leadership positions. We need to say, yes, keep going, we need you. And it doesn't matter what political party to me. I say we keep going. We support Annemie Paul. If she's going to be the leader of the Greens, go Annemie. Go Leslyn Lewis. Do it. Because I want to look out at the House of Commons and I want to see some other faces there. I want to see some more racialized communities represented in our House of Commons, in our universities, in our hospitals, in our boards of directors. We got to keep going and pushing our youth and put politics aside on that one.
And yes, absolutely. And change starts with each and every one of us. And that's why we always say that in ACCH, we want people to be strong ambassadors and strong allies of the community. We need to support each other. It doesn't matter the color of our skin. We're stronger together. Canada is a country of diversity. And I always say that I'm yet to see the inclusion. But again, we need to continue to walk towards it and make sure that we see the change that we want. You've said it all. Everybody has said it all. We always say there's a lot of work to be done. We're happy that you are in this ministry. We're happy that you are actually beginning something. It's amazing that Canada opens its doors for a lot of immigrants to come in, but at the end of the day, nothing is really set in stone. And this is just not the only thing. You come into the country, they talk about Canadian work experience. You're limited in getting your foot in the door of your profession because of your Canadian work experience, not because of your skills, not because of your education, but because you don't have Canadian work experience. We've seen situations where funds and grants are given to communities that do not look like us to actually do projects and programs for us. How can you be us when you're not us? And that's the thing. So we need help. And you did say something. You said, reach out to me. You said for us to connect with our MP. We will reach out to you. So please, everyone, reach out to your MP. They're here to help us. If you have any questions, any concerns, please reach out to them. For funding, reach out to them. But Honorable Minister, please, whenever there are information that you feel will benefit our community, please send it to us. Whether it's funding, whatever the information is, we need fundings to do a lot of programs. You missed a lot of our Black History Month. We will send our YouTube channel to you so that you can hear all the wonderful things people are saying. We need programs in our community for our youths, for our young professionals, for newcomers, for seasoned professionals. We need support. You've been there. You understand what we're talking about. And I know that the topic that a lot of people are talking about now is BIPOC. BIPOC is Black, Indigenous, People of Color. And to be very, very candid with you, BIPOC is not something I subscribe to. And I'll tell you why. The reason is because you mentioned to us today that there is a percentage assigned to the Indigenous people. What does that tell us? They've been taken care of. And we may say that we have the same experience, but our experiences are different. When we're lumped together with other communities, we are unseen. When the Black people are lumped together, even though we're supposed to stand up because of the color of our skin, but we're not seen, we're not heard. We end up with the end of the totem pole. And so please, Honorable Minister, we need you to talk about our communities separately because our experiences are different. We need you to please send information our way. Speak for us. Yes, you are in the minority community, but our situation is so different. We need help. Our youth need to feel that they're heard, that they're seen, that they matter. We need you to help us. So I just want to say thank you again. I know I've said a lot and a lot of people have said a lot, but we will follow up with you.
Thank you.
Really thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you again.
Okay, take care.
I'm sorry. Can we just have a virtual picture taken very quickly? Everybody turn on your cameras. We want to do this because we need to keep taking track records of what we are and what we do. So if we count of 3, everybody turn your camera. 1.
One sec, please. Okay. 1 sec. Let me change the layout.
I just forgot, almost forgot that.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Minister. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for waiting until this late. We really appreciate it. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Bye. Bye.
Hello, sister.
Hi, bonsoir. Comment ça va?
Très bien, très bien. Wow, this was amazing. Amazing. That was very, very informative meeting. No, I think that I'm going to run for the election again.